All right, we are going to start on our backs tonight, so go ahead and lie down. And as you came onto your back, of course, you can take any leg variation that feels most comfortable for you as you lie down. And any movements that you need to work out, feel free to get any of those wiggles, those first wiggles out before you settle into stillness. And we'll begin to attune to our breath. And tonight's focus will be moving in and out from our center. So if it's helpful for you as we set up our breath to bring your hands to your stomach, you're invited to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. First, just notice the rise and fall of your hands beneath you, or imagine it if you're choosing not to place your hands at your belly. Notice if your inhale is longer than your exhale, or vice versa. Just allowing yourself to sense and feel this center point that will be moving from this evening. And it's your choice of breath work if you love to practice Ujjayi breath, or if you just like that equal pranayama of matching each inhale with each exhale. And as you're tuning into your breath, if you are not lying completely flat on the mat, go ahead and stretch your legs out in front of you. And then you'll start to take your arms out to your sides, almost like a starfish here. So you'll need a little bit of space. So you don't necessarily have to go overhead, but you're just opening up into a little bit of a star shape. And staying connected to that center point of where your hands were on your stomach, you start to ever so slightly start to reach your right arm outward. So you feel your right shoulder and your right arm reach slightly out, and then it pulls back in. Notice it a few times on the right side. So just reach the right arm slightly outward, and then bring it in. Trying to initiate the movement from your center. Almost think of it as you're moving it from your belly button or your navel area. And it's a small movement. It's not like you're really trying to reach towards anything. Let it be soft and subtle, so there's not a lot of effort. Let's do that one more time. And then we'll start to do it on the left side. So you'll start to reach your left arm outward from your center and back in. Perhaps notice what moves when you move the left arm and shoulder outward as you're reaching out. And then let that left arm rest. And we'll do the same thing with the legs. So start to reach your right leg from your center slightly out. It's not necessarily lifting, you're just reaching it forward, pushing it forward, and then letting it rest. Good. And just keep that going on the right side. And notice what happens as you're reaching here, if it translates up your spine into movement into your shoulders and your neck and head. So you're trying not to be really rigid here. If you're ready to, you can begin to explore this on the left side. Good. So one more time on the left side. And then we'll start to, as you let your left leg rest, add the limbs moving together. So start to explore reaching your right arm outward and then your left leg forward. And then you bring it back in. So it's like your limbs are reaching in opposite directions, but the movement is initiated from your center. Let's do that a couple more times. And rest. And then do the opposite side. Your left hand will reach, your right leg will reach, and bring it back in. And after you've done that one more time on the side you're working on, rest. And then we'll try to do both sides at the same time. So your right arm and your right leg reach out from your center and then back in. So it's almost as if you're a starfish, kind of reaching out, swimming along. Good. And if you haven't already, switch sides, left arm, left leg. Maybe you're just enjoying laying like a starfish on a warm sandy beach here. That's nice too. And after you finish up this round, just rest. And you're welcome to receive a full body breath in through your nose, all the way down into that center of your body. And exhale it all out. And in your own time, we'll begin to bring our arms down by our sides so that you can start to draw one knee in towards your chest and then the other. If you want some movement here, rocking from side to side or making some gentle circles, really this is whatever you want to do here. Well, Marla's getting some nice cracks and pops in her spine. I'm jealous. And then you'll eventually meet in the center and either rock up to your hands and knees or roll over to one side and come up to tabletop position. And once you come up to your tabletop position, and if you haven't started your music yet already, it's an excellent spot to start music. We're going to move into our cow-cats, but before you go into that movement, I really want you to focus on letting the movement come from your center. So imagine you're reaching your tail and your head away from that center point. We're probably going to move slower than you usually do in these, and then you're bringing them back into the center. And let your arms and your legs be involved here. Maybe notice as you're moving in and out from the center how your breath changes. If you're efforting too much and the breath is holding or sticking, then do less. Just a couple more rounds. Just one more round of cow and cat. And we'll meet in the center in that tabletop position. And from here, we'll start to stretch our right leg straight back behind us. The toes will be tucked here. And then instead of just lifting the leg straight up, can you initiate the movement from that center point of your navel, from your belly? So begin to slowly lift the leg up and feel it reaching back here. We'll continue to hold here. If you want to add on, you can start to pop up onto your left fingertips. And then same thing, can you reach your arm forward from that center? So now your limbs are reaching in opposite directions, just like what we were doing on our backs. Nice, continue to breathe. Even your left supporting leg and your right arm are involved with this. Couple more moments here. One more breath in. And slowly set everything down. If you need to shake it out, wiggle it out, do so. All right, other side. So from here, we'll stretch the left toes out, or the left leg out. And then intentionally start to lift the leg upward. And if you feel that you lost that skill, you're welcome to come in and out of it. And then you can start to add the right arm, but let it be an extension from that center. Maybe you're noticing that this side is more challenging. It is for me. But even here, maybe see if you can reach a little bit more with those limbs. The head and neck are also a part of it. One more moment here. And set the knee and hands down. We'll shift back towards a child's pose. Just get off the wrists. If you need to cross your arms in front of you, cross your arms in front of you to make it pillow. And then we'll begin to eventually make our way up to downward facing dog. So stretch your arms forward. And before we settle into down dog, move around, a little bit of playful exploration. So if you love to lift a leg or grab onto the outer edges of your mat, you're invited to, especially if you've been sitting all day. I know us here, we've been sitting a lot doing training, staring at a Zoom screen. Nice. And as you start to find your stillness in downward facing dog, come back to that star shape that we were making on our backs. And you find a little bit of that reach through your center into your lower limbs, into your legs, and into your hands. And just notice if that changes anything in your down dog. But the action is coming from your center. Even find that your head is reaching out as well. And as you maintain that, can you take that into plank pose? So move slowly so that you're letting it come from that center. And then you'll eventually draw back to downward facing dog. And we'll continue to move forward and back through plank. If that action from moving into the navel or from the navel is just too much effort and work, you're welcome to move forward and back however you like. Couple more times. Pause in downward facing dog once you get there. And then from here, we'll all step our right foot forward between our hands and pause. This is a great place for blocks underneath your hands if you would need them. And from here, we're just gonna hold this low lunge. But can you find a little bit of that reach from the crown of your head, from that back leg, and even down into your fingertips or your hands if you're reaching down. I'm just going to take 2 more rounds of breath here, feeling your spine elongate from the navel. All right, 1 more breath here. Step back to plank pose. Pause in your plank. And then draw back downward facing dog. Shift forward into your plank pose, back into it. And then from here, see if you can come up onto your right fingertips without really changing the shape of the pose. Just gonna pause here and breathe. Perhaps imagine that your right hand is drifting forward, like you're reaching out to shake a friend's hand. We're not doing it just yet. Place your palm down, draw back, downward facing dog. Step your left leg forward between your hands and pause. And we're just gonna be here in this lunge for a few moments. Of course, if you need to move around for the first few moments, you can move around. And just be curious as to how your limbs are reaching from your center here. Two more breaths here. All right, place your hands down on the mat. Step back to plank pose. Pause in your plank. Feel yourself reaching from your center through all your limbs. Yeah, that was nice, Rachel. And then press back, downward facing dog. With your next breath, shift forward into your plank. Make the connection first. And then come up onto your left fingertips. Even here, feel as if that left arm is reaching out from the navel, even though it's not lifted just yet. One more breath here. Palm down, press back, downward facing dog. All right, right leg steps forward between your hands into that lunge. And then from here, begin to reach your right arm forward. If this feels as if it's enough work here, you're welcome to stay here. Can you reach your left arm forward? Feel the reach come from your center. You may even have to lift your chest, your torso up a little bit off of that front thigh. Continue to be active through your back leg. Maybe remember that you're a floating starfish right now. One more breath here. Place your hands down, step back, downward facing dog. We'll skip to plank. You're welcome. Step your left leg forward between your hands. Once you've made your connection here, begin to stretch your left arm forward. You're welcome to keep your right hand down or perhaps try to reach that right arm forward. Good. Connecting with all of those 5 limbs here, not just your legs and your arms, but the head and neck as well. Good. One more breath here, my friends. Place your hands down, step back, downward facing dog. Shift forward into plank from your center. Hold your plank. Before we add the lower body, imagine it coming from that center. Can you hover your right toes off the mat? Keep breathing. Good. Set your right toes down. Left toes lift. Stay centered. Good. One more breath. Set the foot down. Downward facing dog is where we go to. All right. Step your right foot forward between your hands. Coming into that low lunge once again. Final variation. Begin to reach your right arm forward. And then your left arm forward. And before we come up, can you let it come from that center area as we rise slowly all the way up to crescent pose. And then once you reach up, maybe find a little bit of movement here. So maybe you're gonna reach that right arm up or even out like we did on our back. Do it with your left hand. Maybe do both arms at the same time. It's almost as if you feel that you're lifting up out of the pose. Release your hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Pause and plank. Pop up onto your left fingertips. Hover your right foot. You can either imagine your left arm stretching forward or float it up from your center. Nice, Marla has it if you need a demo. Yeah, hold here and breathe for a few more moments. You got this. You can always just hold plank. One more breath here. Downward facing dog is where we meet. Nice. We'll hold down dog for an extra round of breath. Left foot steps forward between our hands. Stay low first. And then begin to stretch your left hand forward. And then your right arm forward. And then in your own time, begin to slowly rise all the way up to crescent. And this is where you get to explore a little bit here if you want to move. If there's different arm variations you want, go for it. If you are moving, let it come from that center. One more breath here. Hands down. Plank pose is where we all meet, and pause. Pop up onto your right fingertips. Hover your left toes. Either imagining your right arm floating forward, or perhaps it's gonna drift forward, imagining that those opposite limbs are stretching away from each other from your center. I know. We're here for a few more breaths. Good, good, good. I see you all trying. That's excellent. We're here for 2. And set the limbs down, downward facing dog. Child's pose. Let's rest for a moment. All right, my friends, downward facing dog is where we'll eventually all meet. From here, we'll all lift our right leg up to the sky. Step your right foot forward between your hands and paws. Turn your back foot in and flat for warrior 2. So begin to windmill open for your warrior 2 pose. Just give yourself a moment to arrive first. And we're really just using this posture for transition. So begin to straighten your front leg and pause here. And then before we go anywhere, feel as if you were pressing out through your legs, reaching out through your arms and through the top of your head. And already I'm trembling and shaking. There's a lot of work happening here. Maintain all of that as you begin to come into triangle pose. And anything you need here, as soon as you feel that you've lost that connection in your center, you may have gone a little too far. So maybe this triangle tonight won't be as deep, air quotes, as you usually go. And continue to breathe. Nice. Continue to reach out from that navel, that center area, not just through your legs and your hands, but the neck and head. One more breath here. Let's come back up to warrior 2. Windmill your hands down to plank pose. Pause in your plank. We'll lower down nice and slow all the way down to your belly. We'll roll up into cobra pose from here. So drawn up and then lower back down. We'll do that a few more times. It's the first one we've done. So roll up into your cobra and lower down. Even here, can you feel it coming from that center? Maybe let that navel initiate the movement. See if that does anything to the legs as you're rolling through your back bends. Nice, just do one more. And then your choice to press up through your hands and knees or through a strong plank. And downward facing dog is where we all meet. Good. All right, left leg will lift. Left leg will step through between your hands. Back foot spins in and flat for warrior two. And then rise on up. Take your time getting there. Good. And then straighten that front leg and pause. Make that connection. Good, that looks really good, Michelle. I can see that. Feel yourself reaching from your center so you're radiating out. So maintain that and go slow into your triangle pose so you feel all that effort that's coming from how you're moving. Good. Nice. And maybe just notice how you may even come in and out of working that skill in the pose. That's good too. Nice, I can see some of the trembling and shaking on some of you. Take one more breath here. Come back through warrior two just for the transition. Plank pose is where we come to. Your choice to vinyasa any way you want to. So you can lower through chaturanga, you can hold plank. Your choice of back bends. Downward facing dog is where we all meet. All right. Let's all lift our right leg up to the sky. Step your foot between your hands. Warrior two is where we come up to. Begin to straighten your front leg. Find that skill or that action in your body first, and then we'll come into triangle pose. So go nice and slow. So it's not just about getting into the pose so we can hold it. It's about how you get there. And then maintaining that effort. Half moon is where we're going up to. So move into it slowly as if you're moving from that center. Reconnect here. Nice. And then see what happens through the spine and your head as you reach the limbs away from the center. Good. Ah. Let there be room for your breath. Three more moments here, my friends. Just keep working what you're working. Keep exploring that reach from your center. Not just with the top limbs, but also your supporting limbs as well. Yeah. Warrior two is where we drop back to as best as you can. Take a breath there. Windmill your hands down to plank pose. Pause in your plank here. We'll set up for right side plank pose. So roll onto the edge of the right outer foot. Now, if you do need to drop that right knee down, you're more than welcome to drop your right knee down here. And in a sense, we kind of just came from this pose, but it's a lot harder here. Continue to stretch out from your center. Good, nice. And you're not just reaching with the top arm, you're also pressing with the bottom. One more breath here. Plank pose is where we all meet. Downward facing dog is where we go. It's so nice having a student in here with me. I can skip all the hard stuff. Left leg lifts up. Left leg steps through. Set up for your warrior two. Come on up. Begin to lengthen your left leg straight. Find that skill first and use that to come into your triangle pose. Take your time. Good, I love seeing that you're all moving nice and slow here. Just notice what happens once you get there. And then half moon pose is where we'll come up to. And then once you get there, let the action that we're working tonight be what adjusts you in the pose. Just notice what happens when you're reaching back with that top leg, when you're reaching down with your bottom supporting leg. Notice what adjusts as you're breathing and working that skill. Good. Just a couple more breaths here. Warrior two is where we all meet. Come on down into it. Good. Plank pose is where we meet. Left side down, right side lifts up for your side plank pose. I'll do this one with you. Continue your breath. And then just notice what you're noticing as you're working that skill in your personal practice and body. What happens if you reach more with the legs or more with the head? One more breath here. Plank is where we all meet, and pause in your plank. Downward facing dog is where we go. Lift your right leg up. Step your right foot forward between your hands and paws. Returning back to crescent. So take your time coming into it. So work all those things that we did at the beginning to come up into crescent. And this time we'll begin to lower our chest back down just about halfway and run our arms down by our sides. And then begin to lean your weight forward, coming up onto your back toes for warrior three. And then I invite you in this warrior three to perhaps take your arms out to the sides. And then can you feel and sense that kind of starfish shape here? Nice. I almost think it's a little bit easier in warrior three to take the arms like this. 2 more breaths, my friends. And then release your hands down, foot down for forward fold. We'll rise all the way to standing, reaching the arms up. Maybe feel that reach come from your center. And draw your hands to your heart. And then we'll stretch the arms out and up, breathe into it. And forward fold out of it. Stretch your spine forward for halfway. Step back to plank pose. Pause in your plank. Right side down, left side high for your side plank pose. Again, if you need that bottom knee down, put it down. If you want to play, maybe you're gonna hover that top right leg up and make that kind of star shape here. Yes. All the while you're imagining that movement's coming from the center, reaching from the center. Keep breathing. You got this. Release that leg down and hand down for plank pose. Draw back to downward facing dog. Nice job, my friends. Lift your right, not your right leg, your left leg up. Step your left foot forward. Take your time coming into your crescent pose here. So just notice how you get there. Then we'll run our arms down by our sides, leaning the torso slightly forward. And then start to come onto those back tippy toes and rise up into that warrior three. Good. And then find that arm variation. You can take your arms out to the sides, finding that shape. Excellent. Even here, can the limbs reach out from center, even though this is a pretty intense pose. One more breath here. Release your hands down, foot down for forward fold. Unless you need to skip the forward fold, that's fine. We'll rise all the way to standing, arms reach up. If you want to add the back bend, go for it. And then eventually hands to your heart center. Inhale, rise the arms out and up, reach up. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway plants. Step back to plank pose. Pause in your plank. Left side down, right side high for your side plank variation. Just make sure you switch sides. If we already did this side, switch. Good. And then reach your top leg up if you're playing. Nice. Be just as strong in that bottom leg too. Good. So that bottom leg is reaching back. Nice. We're here for a few more moments, my friends. You got this. Good. It's okay if you come out of it, because we're all going to meet in plank pose, releasing the foot and hands down. Take a breath in plank. Downward facing dog is where we go. Nice. Come forward into plank. I know. No more side planks, I promise. Find that reach from your center. Maintain that as you lower down. Nice and slow. And then just enjoy the floor once you get there. If you want to cross your hands in front of you, wiggle your hips around, do so. And then from here, begin to stretch your arms out in front of you. So now you're lying in a nice long line here. Forehead will be down on the mat. I like to take my feet a little bit wider here for this. And let's all begin to take an inhale here. And as you exhale, lift your right leg up and your left hand up. So opposite limbs are lifting. Chest lifts, head lifts. And as we're holding here, maybe see if you can reach out from that right leg a little more and reach forward with your left arm a little bit more, but let it come from that center. So it's not so much about a big back bend here. One more breath here. And slowly lower it all down. If you need to wiggle your hips around, wiggle your hips around. And then we'll do the opposite side. Left leg begins to stretch back and out. Right arm begins to reach forward. Chest lifts. Even here, your opposite limbs are involved as you're reaching. One more breath. And lower it all down. And if you need to wiggle it out, wiggle it out. All right, my friends, final one. All limbs begin to lift up. You're welcome to roll your palms inward, but instead of trying to go as high as you can, let it be more about that reach from your center here. So maybe even spread your limbs out a little bit further. Continue to breathe. Excellent, nice. Hold here for about 3 more cycles of breath. Maybe even explore reaching more with your right arm and left leg. See what that does. Good. You can switch. One more breath here. And let it all go. Rest. You need to bend your knees and rock your legs a little side to side. Do so. Great. So from here, take your arms to your sides, kind of like goalposts or like cactus, so you're bending the elbows. And in fact, just do that with your right hand and keep your left forearm folded forward for your forehead. I'm not quite doing it here because of sound. And then keeping that left elbow bent, begin to bend your right knee out to the side as if you're taking it towards the right elbow. You're just resting. It's kind of like a half frog. Just allowing your breath to slow down. And begin to slowly stretch that right leg back. Fold your right forearm in, take your left arm out. And then begin to let your left knee draw in. Begin to stretch your left leg back and bring your left arm in any way you need to. And from here, we're actually just going to roll right onto our backs. So go slowly. If you need to grab your blanket from under your head. And once you do roll onto your back, hug your knees into your chest. And let's keep the right knee in towards the chest. Letting your left leg go forward. We'll just pause here. And begin to let your right arm drift out to the side and guide your knee over towards the left for a twist. If you have a different twist you prefer here, you're invited to do any twist that feels good on your body. And begin to bring yourself back to center. Find both knees in. And then we'll keep the left knee in, right leg will go forward. Enjoy that pause before we go into the twist. And then in your own time, begin to twist to the other side. If you're already there, that's great. And we'll start to begin to come back to center. Just hug both knees in for a moment. If you feel that you need one last squeeze or any other movement here, you're welcome to it. Sometimes a happy baby can feel good here, legs up to the sky. Just take these next few rounds of breath to work that out. And then we'll begin to stretch out into Shavasana here, my friends. Use any support that you may need here. If lying on your back is uncomfortable, then roll onto your side or your stomach. And enjoy this rest. Begin to slowly bring some longer breaths back in and out. And ever so slowly, just inviting some movement into your feet and your hands. And then we'll all start to stretch our arms overhead and out to the sides, almost as we started class. And then take a big breath in and stretch from your center, tensing everything like that big good morning stretch. And let that go, release. And then in your own time, slowly you can begin to bring your arms back down by your sides. Rolling over to your favorite side once you bring your knees in. And then eventually up to a seat. Once you come to a seat, join your hands together near your heart. Find that slight bow of your head towards your heart space. Exhale wherever you are with your breath. Receive a full breath into your center. And with a smile, exhale. As always, from my heart to yours, namaste. I'll just stop the recording real quick.